Welcome to the Inc. Productivity Tip of the Day. Today's tip: the reason you feel so burnt out and overwhelmed? Maybe it's microstress. After feeling besieged by an endless number of small but annoying tasks and obligations I could never get on top of, I very nearly broke. Those little stressors swarmed my brain like flies, adding up to a mental state that was no fun at all. I've been searching for solutions since, with only partial success. After all, like many mid-career professionals, I'm objectively doing pretty well with a job I like. A solid marriage, comfortable financial situation, and an awesome kid. It seems ridiculous and ungrateful to feel overwhelmed when I know so many in this world struggle with much, much worse. I write about my own situation not because it is particularly interesting, but because I suspect it is utterly normal. Through reading, observing entrepreneurs' responses to my columns on stress, and talking to friends, I'm pretty sure this sense of diffuse overwhelm is common. Which is why I was thrilled to stumble on a new book that not only confirms my hunch, but also gives a name and explanation to this feeling, and suggests a few solutions. The problem I and so many others experience is apparently called microstress, and is the subject of a new book by business professor Rob Cross and former Harvard Business Review editor Karen Dillon. It's appropriately titled The Microstress Effect. As the pair explain in a long recent HBR piece, they talked to 300 outwardly high-performing professionals for the book and discovered many were secretly suffering from a problem they struggled to name. What often had the biggest negative effects on their mental and physical health weren't big challenges like layoffs or harassment. It was an accumulation of little everyday microstresses that individually seemed like no big deal, but cumulatively left them feeling near the breaking point. Cross and Dillon break these sources of microstress down into 3 types, all of which I am sure will be familiar to busy entrepreneurs. Microstresses that drain your capacity: when you worry about a collaborator's reliability, face unpredictable and ever-changing deadlines, or field endless small requests for help. You're dealing with this type of microstress. Microstresses that deplete your emotional reserves. Examples include drama queens, office politics, and feeling responsible for others' success. Microstresses that challenge your identity. If you've ever felt pressure to pursue goals that didn't line up with your personal values or faced subtle attacks on your competence or authority, then you've dealt with this type of microstress. These types of problems are all unavoidable parts of everyday life. But as Cross and Dillon explain, little irritations can together take a big toll on your mental and physical health. Our brains know how to register conventional forms of stress, so they can identify the threat and use the extra oomph of the fight or flight mechanisms that kick in to deal with it. But microstressors can fly under the radar of our fight or flight vigilance systems while still taking a significant toll, they write in HBR. In short, we're less likely to recognize microstress as a problem and take action to deal with it, so it's more likely to accumulate. And a pileup of microstress can mess with your hormones, your metabolism, and your working memory, giving you a feeling of a brain fog. At this point in the article, I was nodding along in recognition. The brain fog piece in particular felt very familiar. The HBR piece goes into much greater detail about the biology behind the grim effects of microstress. But as soon as I recognized myself in the description of its symptoms, I had another more pressing question. Short of retiring to a remote cave somewhere to meditate, is there anything I can do to help eliminate the ill effects of microstress? The good news is that, according to Cross and Dillon, there are simple steps you can take to buffer against harm caused by microstress. On a macro level, it's worth considering why our society creates so very many microstressors, and whether we could together design a more humane way of life. But failing collective change, Cross and Dillon suggest the best way to fight back against microstressors is to connect with other people. You can build resilience in small moments of authentic connection with a range of people in your life, they insist in a recent TED Ideas post. By cultivating more authentic human connection across all areas of your life, they explain, you can buffer against the worst effects of microstress. Having hobbies and activities outside work can also be beneficial. We found that the happiest people in our research were able to put some of the microstress in their lives in perspective. In part, that was because they tended to belong to 2 or 3 groups in their lives, outside of their professions, that were meaningful to them, write Cross and Dillon in HBR. If you're looking for more detailed advice, pick up the book. But for me, just knowing that I'm not crazy is helpful. There are solid reasons why the many little annoyances and demands of modern adulthood can feel so overwhelming. Acknowledging that microstress is the problem is the first step to solving it. That's all for now. This article was written by Jessica Stillman. Read more from Jessica and other business leaders and entrepreneurs at Inc.com. Come back tomorrow for another tip from Inc.